been talking a lot about Javi Baez's reaction, essentially, when he got a hit in the game yesterday, which ultimately resulted in a W for the Mets, but a thumbs down to the fan base and trying to send a message. What did you make of that?
I almost want to turn this back on Keyshawn and Jay because I'm genuinely curious if they have the same perspective here that I do, which is that Javi Baez's biggest sin here was saying the quiet part out loud, in that decades upon decades of player sentiment has been the same as Javi Baez, which is that fans are completely ridiculous and that they'll turn on you in 2 seconds, and that you just have to wear it because you're playing sports for a living and you get paid really well. The whole compromise is you don't say it out loud, but you think it. Am I wrong, guys, in that is how athletes look at fans?
No, you're not wrong.
You're not wrong, but I think depending on what athlete it is, Jeff, it just depends. Like, I'm the type of guy, when I played, I heard, I paid attention, and I never really bothered with it unless they really just got on my nerves to the point where I would say something back, whether it was fans or the media. Other than that, I just let it go. So clearly, Baez felt like he needed to do that gesture to show them how it felt when they just are somewhat disrespectful to them. Just because you pay money, if it's your money. If you want to waste your money and go to a stadium and boo, so be it. Because that's essentially what you've done. You know they're not very good right now. They lost 20-something games out of the last 30. And you're probably going to watch a game that is not going to be great, even though they won that particular game. You want to waste your money and
Jeff,
boo.
here's my. If
right
fans have the right, Jeff, to say what they want, wouldn't that mean that I, as a player, should have the right to say what I want? Isn't it that simple?
Of course, but it's interesting to see, guys, the way that the Mets came out. And this, I think, is directly reflective of what happens when somebody who is a fan, first and foremost, buys the team. And there are goods to having Steve Cohen as being owner, and there are detriments. And in this case, the words that were put out in the statement by Sandy Alderson, I thought were pretty telling for the Mets' position. The players in the organization are equally frustrated, but fans at Citi Field have every right to express their own disappointment. Booing is every fan's right. Mets fans are loyal, passionate, knowledgeable. This is my favorite part. And more than willing to express themselves. We love them for every one of these qualities. To me, an organization needs to be this wonderful balance between placating fans and recognizing that the people who are bringing the fans out are the players. And I think the Mets are a little bit imbalanced right now. And I think that imbalance comes from the fact that their position organizationally is fan-driven at the moment. And I understand if the fans out there, if a Mets fan's listening to this, they're going to say, of course the position is fan-driven. Fans are the lifeblood of the sport. Yeah, they are. But I also think that in order to have players be at their best, they need to be comfortable doing what they're doing. And while you can say Javi Baez needs to understand that New York is a different beast, a different animal, that they're going to boo him if they want to boo him, you need to understand the mindset of the player, too, and try and placate him as much as you are the fan.
And see, Jeff, I look at it this way, too. If the fans are booing me and I start booing back and we start winning games, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Maybe that's actually motivating me to play better.
Thank you for saying this, because, the statement comes out yesterday, and it's the Mets pandering to the fans. And that's all well and good, but you know what that is? This is one of those little Band-Aids, like a little circle one that you put on, like, a tiny cut. This is a little Band-Aid on, like, a giant festering wound. You know what the stitches are? You know what the surgery is? Win some freaking ball games. Fans don't want to be told they have the right to boo. Fans want to be given a reason to cheer.
Interesting stuff. We're talking to Jeff Passan right now, our ESPN senior MLB insider. He's joining us on the Goodyear Hotline here in Keyshawn, Jay, Will, and Zubin. Shea Cornett filling in for Zubin this morning. Okay, let's go to the Yankees. Let's move across town in New York, shall we? The Yankees, they've been, red hot on a win streak. Now, not so much, but nonetheless, they still only scored 3 runs in 2 games that they lost to Oakland. So wins and losses here for the Yankees, but do you think at this point they're good enough to have them in the conversation in terms of going to the World Series?
Yeah, certainly. And I think a lot of that will have to do with their pitching and what it looks like down the stretch. You know, they're getting Corey Kluber back. We know Garrett Cole's the front of the rotation, ace-type guy. And at this point, it's going to be difficult for to me, the toughest matchup for the Yankees is going to be that first-round ALDS matchup if they can get out of the wild card game. And I'm not sitting here saying definitively that the Tampa Bay Rays, who not only have kept pace with the Yankees but actually increased their lead since the Yankees had that 13-game winning streak, which is a crazy thing to say. That's how good the Rays have been. The Yankees right now are 6 back, and they can make up 6 games, certainly. But the reality is, Shay, if they don't, they're staring at a wild card game right now against Chris Sale. Think about that. Yankees, Red Sox, winner take all, 1-game playoff, Garrett Cole versus Chris Sale. How freaking great does that sound? It sounds awesome for every, baseball fan who's not a Yankees or Red Sox fan, just in terms of watching the game. But for whichever of those teams wins, let's remember the division series is 5 games, and you're only going to be able to bring your ace back for 1 of those 5 games. That's the penalty of not winning the division. And so to me, that's where the Yankees are in the most peril. It's not the ALCS. It's actually the division series where they would have Cole only 1 time.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.